So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking about the Iranian protests over the handful of shows we've had over the last month, as well as on the streams and in other videos here on the channel. Just to get those who are unaware caught up, there are continuing protests going on in Iran of basically women and those that care about women basically fed the fuck up over the repression that women face under the dictatorial regime. And coming out today, 2 men have been hanged for killing a member of the Iranian security forces during nationwide protests during the government last year, probably while that security member was beating the shit out of another person and trying to kill them. Mohammed Mahdi Karamani and Syed Mohammed Hosseini appealed against their sentences, saying they had been tortured into making false confessions. The UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly said the executions were abhorrent because, of course, they are, because fuck Iran. The total number of protesters known to have been executed in the aftermath of the unrest is now 4. Demonstrations against the clerical establishment erupted in September following the death of the custody of a woman detained by morality police for allegedly wearing her hijab or headscarf improperly. Iran's judicial news agency, Mizan, said the 2 men were the main perpetrators in the killing of a paramilitary officer, Rulali Armani. Glad he's dead. Rest in peace. Prosecutors say he was stripped naked and killed by a group of mourners paying their respects to a recently killed protester. Again, rest in peace. Good riddance. The men were first sentenced to death in December of 2022, but they launched appeals after saying they had been tortured, which I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Shit, American cops do that to our own prisoners. Iran's Supreme Court upheld the sentence on the 3rd of January. Human rights group Amnesty International denounced what it described as a sham trial and said Iranian authorities were seeking the death penalty for at least 26 others. The family of 22-year-old Mr. Karmani say they were not permitted to meet him before he was killed on Saturday. They had also pleaded with the judiciary to spare his life. I beg you, please, I ask you to remove the death penalty from my son's case. The UK James Cleverly urged the Iranian authorities to end the violence against its own people, while the EU said it was appalled by the use of the death penalty against protesters. At least 516 demonstrators, including 70 children, have been killed so far in the unrest, and almost 20,000 others have been arrested, according to the foreign-based human rights activist news agency. It reported the deaths of 68 security personnel, many of whose have been detained after protests have reportedly been subject to enforced disappearance, forced detention, torture, and other ill treatment. Iranian officials describe the protests as riots and have accused foreign powers of fueling the unrest, because of course they would, because if they admitted they treat the people in their country like shit, they lose all rights to rule. So the religious leaders of Iran deserve to be thrown in prison or killed for their flagrant human rights abuses. They aren't real Muslims. They aren't real. All the Abrahamic religions at their core are kind and loving religions. Just like how white nationalists and morons in America use Christianity to justify their own hatred and bigotry and repression of their community. The leaders of Iran are doing just the same and should be, frankly, shot for their abhorrent treatment of women and their their population in general. You are watching I Can't Shut Up Unless You Tell Me to here on HIMediaTV.